Hey guys, so lots of stuff to go over today, so this might be one that's on the bit of a longer side. Honestly, I really don't want to upload like 5 different videos today, so I just decided I'm going to make one big long one. If I remember, I'll try to make timestamps just so that way it's easier for you guys to navigate, but odds are I'll probably forget because once I'm done this, I have to actually go somewhere and get something done. But anyways, so, new stuff coming to global. I see you have Rakina and Kaya. You will not be getting anything Rakina out of me, because at least in Japan, she was an absolute disaster of a unit to pull. And this mainly stems from the fact that she was available on a 2500 gem rotating banner, so it was like every 3 steps or something, you get like an increased chance or something like that, and then it just rotated. There was no discount or anything. It was just an awful, awful thing. In fact, she's actually one of the hardest units to get, in my opinion, because of just how absolutely awful all of her banners have been so far. You basically just have to sack her off one of those like limited banners in Japan, or you're screwed. There's no other way to get her. Um, but she functionally is kind of like a dark Zain, however. Um, just to give you an idea of what she is. Her kit isn't quite the same, but it is similar. You also have Zain Job Plus coming, so I will be doing a little bit of a review on him and his Nenso. However, the main star of this update, as far as new units go, is going to be Kaya. And this is the Kaya that you'll likely be receiving. I highly doubt you'll be getting her swimsuit Nenso this year. But as you can see, Kaya is a rather nice looking unit, and she is actually pretty good, and we'll be going through her kit. I unfortunately can't give you like a super detailed uh, explanation of her kit and how to best use it, as she only recently got Kaigen in Japan, and so I've only been playing her rather recently. However, she is a relatively nice unit to have on hand, and she does have a couple gimmicks that make her at least useful in certain things that other units might not be as useful for. So, um, let's start with the Nenso, actually, because I just want to get this out of the way, because I know I'm going to forget it later if I don't do it now. Oh, and just for anyone wondering, this is the Kaya Nenso, the Kaya swimsuit Nenso. However, what we need... I have too many Nensos. We need the Zain Nenso. Alright, so this is Zain's new Nenso, and it is actually a pretty important Nenso. It was especially useful during the Kasumi event, but in general, it has a 60% greed modifier on it, which makes it basically any boss that you have to fight that has a greed tag on it. This is like the go-to Nenso leader skill to have. With 40% HP and 30% physical attack and magic attack, it's good for rainbow teams of any kind of composition, magic, physical attack, or both. But that 60% greed modifier, that thing's insane. This is a Nenso that you want to max limit break, and I'm kind of sad that I have not had the luck at max limit breaking it, as it would have been very, very helpful. It's also just a good Nenso in general. So the base on it is magic attack, so it's not like everyone's going to want to use it. However, it's going to give a better slash attack power buff to the Envy group than the main character Stone Nenso is going to be able to give. And considering the fact that you're likely always going to be running this on Zain, as this is better than his other Nenso stat-wise. His other Nenso is kind of just for the skin. Honestly, the VCR and the Nenso itself are both inferior to this Nenso and its VCR. The slash bonus is really helpful because there are a lot of slash units in Envy, and Zain is going to pair very well with Cannon, who is going to be able to use her Nenso to give him HP and herself HP, as Zain gives them both slash damage. Great combination, and they formed the core of my light team for a very long time until Cannon finally fell off in the current meta. I haven't checked her since she got her Gate 5. I'll have to do that soon. But for now, my Cannon lays dormant, and Zain is still finding a place in my main team. Zain Job Plus is great. I light sharded my Zain to 85 just so I could Kaigen him to use his job plus, and I think it was worth it. Whether it's worth it in global, I don't know. Elemental shards are a little more precious in global than they are in Japan. They are still kind of precious in Japan, don't get me wrong. But Zain Job Plus is very, very good. I highly suggest you get it. He's very worth running, and he often finds places in whatever light team I'm running. His access to quick cast AoEs and mixed damage make him a valuable asset to any team. In his own personal group skill, you're looking at initial jewels and agility, both of which help him immensely. And at max limit break, he's going to get strong versus dark or dark exploit plus 30. Once again, this is an insane Nenso. It's also going to come with his own AoE, and it hits relatively hard. However, the real star of the show here now is the VCR, which is this medal right here. And it's going to give you slash attack power plus 5, agility plus 12, jewels obtained plus 15, and silence resistance plus 60, as well as giving you a 100% physical attack, 100% magic attack charge up for 20 jewels and 2 charges of each. Sorry, just 2 charges in general, which is basically going to allow him to do higher damage. Zain isn't really a single target monster. He's more of a AoE field clearer. So do keep that in mind. He's not like a boss killer. His whole purpose in life is just to clear out as much of the enemy units as he can, while your other units do the heavy lifting on the actual main boss itself. And Light has plenty of units that are capable of doing it. And Zain is also capable of putting a good dent in those bosses too. This is a great Nenso. You're gonna want it. You're gonna want it max limit break if you can. And I'll just quick show off his other Nenso here while I'm at it. Honestly, this Nenso isn't nearly as good. I can't even remember what the VCR gives. I think it's just attack stats, but he doesn't want to run that VCR because he wants to run the Chloe VCR. So, and he doesn't have space for anything else because he's also going to want to run the cannon jacket for HP and the jewel regen. So, that's actually all I have on that. Quick note about Kaya. She isn't really going to have a good Nenso option for a very long time, as the first Nenso that was specifically designated for her was the swimsuit Nenso that she just recently got. However, if you want to get her HP, I highly suggest either the Fiona Nenso or the Dawn Taras Nenso, as she is a Slothstein unit. And she's capable of using the DG or SSM group bonus off of any SSM Nenso, so do keep that in mind. However, more often than not, this doesn't help her all that much. I don't want to use that. I was messing around with that. Yeah, there's actually... How free to play does this team look? Ambrosia, Soul, Brig... Noin, and Meliadus. Super free to play, am I right? Alright, where's a team I can clear off? Because I'm still messing with that team a bit. This'll work. So I'm just going to pull Kaya out here with her own leader skill, as her own leader skill is relatively good. 50% HP, 30% magic, and 10% accuracy. And we're going to mostly be going through the moves. And I know I normally do this in the opposite order, but I'm just kind of winging it today, as I don't have a ton of time. And I wanted to get this video out before the actual update so you guys know exactly what you're pulling for. I do want you guys to note that my Kaya is going to be more powerful than your Kaya, because my Kaya has access to more gates and obviously different things. And honestly, I forgot to equip her with stuff too, so, well, I'm mostly here to show off the kit anyways. So let's go ahead and start with that. Okay, so this first attack here for 16 jewels with 5 charges. This was the major innovation that Kaya brought to the game. This is capable of knocking jump units out of the air. So for those of you who do not know, Kaya was introduced alongside the Etrian Odyssey collab in Japan. And for those of you that had the misfortune of dealing with Owlbear, Kaya was really good at dealing with him. Surprise, surprise. She was basically designed to kill Owlbear in a sense, and she's very good at it. But if you didn't have Kaya, Owlbear was a living hell. Um, its damage isn't great, but it does have its uses. Knocking units out of the air. While this might not be super useful in like PvP, I don't know how prevalent jump is in PvP and global. I know it's not really a thing anymore in Japan, as most jump units in Japan just don't deal enough damage these days to be super relevant. Um, but I know there are a lot of maps where being able to knock a unit out of the air and cancel their attack is helpful. So keep that in mind. So the next attack, or the next skill here, this is a one-time skill use, so do make sure you use it wisely. And it's going to increase your agility by 20% and decrease your cast time ratio. And I guess I'll go ahead and show off the skill here. I don't even know if I have animations on, to be honest. Let's just quick check to see if I have animations on. So we'll just quick use her, which one is this? I think this is the one from her farmable gear. So let's just check and see if I have animations on. No, I don't. Okay, so let's leave this map, turn on animations, and start again. Because I'm already deep into this video and I don't have time to redo it, unfortunately. Okay, skills are on now. Nothing you guys haven't seen before, me messing up. And actually, while I'm at it, I'll show off Kaya's attack animation, because it's kind of cool. She like summons a machine down and like shoots a bullet out of it or something. Should probably turn the speed down a bit so you can see it better. Alright, so moving on to the next attack. Let me find my place again. Alright, so the next attack for 50 joules is going to perform an AoE fire attack around her. This does have a wind exploit tagged onto it, although it's not super high. In general, this is probably one of her heavier hitting attacks, aside from the next attack I'll be going over. And this is the attack that is upgraded on the Gate 5. However, the Gate 5 upgrade to it's kind of lackluster. And as you can see here, her reactive is a preemptive strike. It doesn't go off all the time, but it does more often than not, I feel like. 80% chance to go off, and it's within two squares of you. So for the final attack on the main part of her kit is just your standard 5x5 diamond AoE, and it's going to have a CT down of 50%. I kind of wish this was the skill that got upgraded on her Gate 5. It would have been way better. Alright, so that is the main part of her kit. I'm going to go ahead and reset this fight because I'm running out of things to kill. And as I'm sure you guys noticed, I'm not particularly trying to do super high damage this time to show her off, as once again, as I mentioned before, I'm not like the most familiar with her kit. I've got a good idea of what she's capable of doing. But, in general, it's not a kit that I am extremely comfortable with showing off. I just wanted to show what she's capable of doing. So, for the next attack, this isn't so much an attack as it is a status. And you're going to cast Blind and Silence on your enemies. Useful if you need those status ailments, otherwise it's kind of useless. However, the next attack is going to be her version of Drain Dimension. And she's going to get one turn of plus 70% magic attack, and it looks like it does heal her just like Drain Dimension does. So after that, she'll be ready to go in like with her main attack here and do some real damage. 8,000 isn't too bad. Next attack, and this is a pretty nice one here. It's going to be a single target fire attack, and it actually has a relatively quick fast speed of 450, and the best part of it is it's going to inflict 4 turns of fire resistance minus 50 on an opponent. Fire resistance minus 50 is actually a really high fire resistance debuff, so if you're manualing raid, it might not be a bad idea to bring Kaya along for this debuff. If nothing else, if you're running your fire team, of course. And for the final skill here, if you are in a pinch and you need to get yourself some jewels, it only costs 50% of your HP. But in exchange, you get 50% of your jewels back. Honestly, that's not a bad trade-off. There are many units that I wish could have this skill, and there is an item that I have kind of been theory crafting with recently. I'll probably post another video on it where skills like this could actually come in super handy and being able to utilize that piece of gear. But moving on from that, that is actually the last skill in her main kit. So let's go ahead and quick show off her, first off with her master ability from her farmable weapon. And I know that it showed off her swimsuit Nenso in that attack, but it did that because the swimsuit Nenso, I believe, enhances that attack. It's not, like, actually doing anything. And I'm actually going to do a quick charge up for this next one. Or a Drain Dimension. I'll quick turn that off so we can enjoy this to its fullest, as this is a full animation right here. And there you go. That is Kaya's kit for all intents and purposes. Anything else is obviously from modified gear, or if you want to run any of her other jobs, which honestly I really don't suggest. Her unique is pretty good. I really don't see a reason to run her other stuff. But if you can come up with a reason, by all means, let me know. Let's just quick go over here so we can take a quick peek at Kaya's Kaigen. As you can see here, Kaya actually is... Kaya really does need her Nenso, specifically because she really, really wants her VCR. Her VCR is 450 HP, along with 20 cast time reduction, and plus 10 to fire. And Kaya doesn't really have any other cast time reduction, so this is really, really big for her. And plus 10 fire is always nice to have. And 450 HP is going to let you run your SSM armband, which is going to give her 20 to missile and magic modifier. She uses both modifiers, by the way, and these are considered buffs as well, though, so you can also run other magic modifier or missile modifier buffs, which you're mostly going to be getting from her farmable piece of gear. I think this is some kind of light or lantern or something. Anyways, it's 6 speed and 8 magic modifier and 40 magic defense. And I think this is going to be her optimal damage setup. Honestly, the 20 missile modifier and 20 magic modifier with the SSM armband and the 30 magic attack is going to be better than running something like the fire bracelet, which is 20 wind exploit and plus 5 fire, which would obviously overlap with your other VCR, making it obsolete and only 20 fire exploit. The difference is you do have light attacks on her kit, which she can't benefit from using the wind exploit. And I meant wind exploit, not fire exploit, by the way. So keep that in mind. Going into her Kaigen real quick. I haven't completely finished her Kaigen yet. I'm still deciding whether I want to use her, do her Gate 5 or not, to be honest. I don't even have the shards for it, but I will pretty soon. Gate 1 and Gate 2. Gate 2 isn't super necessary, but it's one of those that's nice to have. Let me actually pull it up here real quick. And it's going to change your, it's going to change the, spy passive. I can't remember what they call it in global. That's plus 10 agility, plus 10 dex, and plus 10 to poison damage rate. To give plus 10% HP, plus 20% agility, plus 15% dex, and plus 10 damage rate. So you gain plus 10% HP and plus 10% agility. Once again, it's not necessary, but it's nice to have. It's not like make or break though. Her leader skill is going to upgrade to 50% HP, 20% fire all damage, 10% magic damage, and 10% accuracy. If you need more accuracy on a map, it's a nice one to have, but it's, once again, this is just not super critical. It's not going to make or break your teams. There's plenty of other 50-20 fire leader skills that you can use instead of this one. I wouldn't break your back over it. Obviously, you should get Gate 4 for the raw stats. She wants the HP. She wants the extra magic, you know. And once again, Gate 5. So, it's going to upgrade that ability that does the AoE around herself by 5% total damage, as well as giving her 2 extra casts. And honestly, that's about it. So, you basically be dropping 2 Sins and 2 Horns for 2 extra casts and barely any extra damage. I'm just not sure if that's worth it, to be honest. So I'm probably going to work on towards her leader skill next if I want it. And that's Kaya for you guys. If you don't have access to this stuff, you could always switch out the hat for any other kind of HP gear. Regen armor is always a great option, obviously. I don't think it's super critical for her to have any kind of like absurd jewel gain, but it's always nice to have. Do not forget she is a Sloth Stain unit, so she should, if I can find it, have access to the Albea VCR, which is 650 HP, 10 starting jewels, and 20 jewel gain. This is a really nice piece of armor to have and works very well on her. Hopping back over to Zain now, I'm going to quick just show off Zain's Kaigen. And yes, you should pretty much just max Kaigen this guy. He has a very nice leader skill with 20% HP, 30% light all damage, which is super good. There aren't many 30% light all damages. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet on this one. And 20% physical attack. It's essentially the physical attack version of Aisha's Kaigen leader skill. I probably will get this one eventually. I just haven't yet because I often run Moa's leader skill instead. And speaking of Moa, I think I saw that you guys are getting Lucretia Job Plus 2, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, as well as Moa. So you guys already know who Moa is, as I've already done a video on her. And Moa, at least in Japan right now, is one of the best PvE units in the game. She basically just solo carries almost everything. You let your entire team die, and then you watch as Moa just punches things for like 20,000 damage, and then just never dies, because she has a base HP of almost 8,000, and it's like almost 12,000 in the map, and it's like more with double leader skill. She's absolutely insane for a unit. She's definitely worth the pickup, but she's not worth wailing for. Remember, she is part of the free unit pool. She's not a limited unit. She will be farmable in the future, so do keep that in mind. You're not going to be getting her Job Plus until likely next March or February. I don't know if Global will run White Day in March like it's supposed to be, or if they'll just run it in February like alongside the Valentine's events, under the assumption that most players in Global don't know what White Day is. So yeah, you guys have time. You don't have to pull the trigger on Moa right now. For right now, Moa is mostly just going to be good for her leader skill, which will be 50% HP, 30% physical attack, and 20% light exploit when you get her. And her Kaigen will be 20% light all damage and 10% physical attack as the substitution. Lucretia's job plus. I don't normally run it, to be honest. I mean, I occasionally do run it, but for the most part, I still use Lucretia as a professor most of the time when I do run her, as Thunder Veils are actually not super easy to come by. I mean, you've got quite a few cleanses in Thunder, but actual just straight up Veils are pretty rare. I mean, we have things like Usalia, but that's only if you like played the Disgaea collab. And this Usalia is just an inferior unit compared to Lucretia, who's obviously going to be rocking a lot better options now. However, I do want to point out that one of the benefits of running Lucretia as her Bride Plus is access to the Wedding Veil from the Steel Wedding Road event for Fiona, which is 600 HP, 10 speed, and I think that's 1 jump. And it also has a rate heal on it, if I'm not mistaken. It's a relatively nice piece of gear, and she is capable of taking full advantage of it because she is considered a bride. Well, obviously she's Bride Plus, and all bride units can use it plus Fiona. So keep that in mind. It's not that her job plus is bad, it's just more often than not, it's just worse than the other Thunder options you have for the same kind of things that you're trying to do. I think it's partially healing based. It's been a while since I used it. And I'm not really going to go into it much right now, to be honest. If you guys want me to, I might do it later, but I'm just not able to do it today. And I've already made this video long enough. So yeah, once again, mostly run her as Professor. Every once in a while, I'll pull out the Bride. Although it does have a nice sword with it. I do like that sword. And obviously this is the free outfit that she will be obtaining, which looks a lot better than the alternative. See? Way worse. So, is there anything else I missed? Because, wow, you guys have a lot of shit coming. Which is actually not bad, because I feel like it's been a rather slow trudge recently. Oh, right, you guys have Tilter Job Plus. Or Totito's Job Plus. We just call her Tilter in the Discord. So here we are, Tilter. She needs her Nenso and VCR. I don't have her Nenso in her right now, because she's actually part of my Nenso farming team. But when I actually pull her out for real content, I'll pull out her and her Nenso. Her Nenso is a Northern Pride Nenso, so it's not going to do you a ton of good. But it gives Northern Pride magic attack, and its base stat is accuracy, which actually is not bad to have. As if you have a unit that can't hit for shit, it's a good general Nenso to have for that kind of thing. Although I wouldn't normally use it for that. I just slap Fiona's VCR on that unit, in all honesty. But it is nice. It is nice to have. Mostly it's those stats for herself. The real prize here, though, is the VCR. And I'm going to take a second here to pull it up so I can get this thing right. Just give me 1 second here. Wow, there's been a lot of Nensos released since hers. You know, back when Tilter's Nenso was released, it was one of like the 4 Nensos that I didn't have at the time, and now there's a bunch more that I'm missing. The limited train sucks. Alright, so the way it works is when Tilter's HP drops below 80%, she's going to get a 30% physical attack and 30% magic attack buff. Now remember that she scales off of both of those stats, which is pretty nice. And she has agility plus 10, magic defense plus 40, stop resistance plus 50, and light plus 10 as the stats on that VCR. So it's actually a relatively nice VCR to have. I generally like to run her with either the Rakina's sword. And the main reason I have Rakina's sword up right now is because I maxed the weapon ability on it, which is nice to have. You guys don't have that yet. The inspiration skills, or the weapon Kaigen as some people call it. The other sword, I don't even know what this thing is called in Global. I want to say like it's the Prometheus sword, because at least that's what it says in Japan. But I never trust Global's translations. Is another good option for her. Once again, it's a magic attack and physical attack weapon. If you're really cheap and you maxed Excalibur, you could always run that, but I never maxed Excalibur, poor Conan. Yeah, and honestly, there really aren't a ton of other great options for her. There's nothing that's like super vital, but I do know that recently in a auto setup that Tilter was a part of for one of the event bosses, this sword was required for that auto setup to function properly. And for the last slot here, there's a couple of things you can put in. The first one that I'd suggest is the Rakina Nenso VCR, as this is going to give you 15 jewel gain, 500 HP, and 25 reaction block. It's a nice thing to have, and the fact that she can use it is super nice too. Regen armor is always a good option, obviously. Also, just to point out, she can actually use the Zain medal from his VCR. Where was that next one? Or was that it? That might have been it, to be honest. There isn't a ton of variability on what she wants to use, in all honesty. So, it's kind of fitted in wherever you want. And for those of you who noticed, this is a different skin from the Nenso itself. And I do like this skin. I like the feathers. The feathers are nice. So, did I get it all this time? Because there's a lot going on. Pirate JE. So, the Pirate JEs. I'm just going to go ahead and say this right now. The only winner in the Pirate JE contest is Shenmei, who's not even going to have her Pirate JE next week in Japan because she's getting a job plus, most likely going to replace that JE, and she's likely going to get her, she's likely finally going to get her machinist, at least we can only hope. But yeah, it's likely that she'll be getting her JE replaced with a job plus in Japan. So look forward to that, but until then, Shenmei is going to become a much better unit with access to that JE, as it's going to fix her stats properly. It's going to give her enough speed to become viable. She's never going to be the top tier water unit, at least in Global for a while, that you want her to be. She might become top tier in Japan when she gets her job plus. We're going to have to wait and see. As far as Nensos you want to use on her, well, you guys really don't have Greed Nensos yet, in all honesty. You are going to want to grab the Ocean Espada, though. It's essential to have this piece of gear if you want your Shenmei to function, as it's going to give her access to a 100% physical attack charge up, which is the only way that she can get off really good damage. Because she has access, obviously she doesn't have access to any other charge ups. She also is capable of memeing a bit, as she has the Evening Assassin, which allows her to dodge magic. So, and with that, I think we're going to end on that note. You guys got a lot of content coming up here, so keep things in perspective. If you have Zain and he's ready to be Kaigent, I highly suggest you start with that, as he's basically the core of all of my auto teams, because he's that good. Zane's job plus doesn't do a lot for him kit-wise, as much as it fixes his stats on his unique, making it much more viable and much better. If you manage to pull Kaya, she is a good unit, and she does have a hard quest in Japan. However, she is considered an SSM unit by Gumi. So she originally got an SSM hard quest for a little bit in Japan, and then she got implemented with all of the other SSM units into hard quests. I don't know when SSM hard quests are going to be coming to your standard daily farm. So if you actually want to use her, she really kind of does want 85 in order to do the kind of damage, because you want to be able to use her farmable gear, and you want to be able to use the SSM armband, as you want some HP gear. So 85 was kind of necessary to use her in Japan. Not that she has to have it, she's still completely viable at 75, but Kaya is a unit that the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of her. But she's, once again, I don't really see Kaya personally as like super top tier. She is good, don't get me wrong, but she's no Black Killer Masamune. If you want Black Killer Masamune and you only have enough fire shards for her, I do suggest holding off on Kaya, as she's not as imperative to like raiding as someone like Black Killer Masamune is. Kaya's main curse is the fact that she's a fire unit, you know? With so much access to good fire mages and the like. I mean, we have Emma, we have Lupinus, um, even Kagura these days is pretty decent in Japan. Noah, Ira doesn't do magic damage, but she is still scaling off of magic attack. Kaya is like not mandatory to make your team function, but hey, I think she's a great looking unit. She has a relatively nice design. Both her swimsuit design is nice and her OG design is super nice too. Her OG design looks super classy in my opinion. But yeah, at least that's my take on her. Zain Job Plus is the real star of this entire thing, as he is a core light unit. Super important, at least in my opinion, for most light teams. And he's still very important in my light teams to this day. And it's been like a year since he got his Job Plus in Japan. So, anyways, guys, thanks for listening as always. I know this was a really long one, so thanks for staying tuned if you stayed tuned this entire time. And I'll see you next time.